Hi, this is Joanne Hewins from lovetocreate.typepad.com. Today I want to share with you how to make this card. This was a sketch that I had to do with the Create with Mary, Connie and Mary Thursday challenge. And I just wanted to talk to you about mainly how I did the trees over here, but we'll make the entire card. And for this, we are using from the January-June 2020 mini catalog, the Tropical Oasis suite, or parts of that suite. So we'll be using the stamp set and the dies, the embossing folder, and the paper for that, the Tropical Oasis Designer Series paper. So let's go ahead and get started with the card that we're making today. So we are using the Timeless Tropical stamp set. We'll be using this saying for the front, this saying for inside, and then we'll be using the trees. And then we'll also be using the In the Tropics dies. We'll be using the trees. I always think of a bunch of celery when I see that die. And then we're also using the Coastal Weave embossing folder. So first of all, I took paper. Well, actually, we're using Thick Whisper White. This is 5.25 by 8.5. I'm sorry, 5.5 by 8.5. I scored this at 4.25. And for the thick paper, I do suggest that you score because it makes your fold just a whole lot nicer, and then use a bone folder to burnish that fold. I've already done that. Now, I cut this paper, the Designer Series paper. It's the Tropical Oasis, and I cut it the size of the front of the card. So it's 4.25 by 5.5. Now, I just think that this makes a pretty card without having that extra border around there. But warning, if you're wanting to make a lot of cards, it's much more economical for the use of your paper to do the 4 across and the 5.25. So with this size paper, I can get 4 card fronts from a piece of Designer Series paper. If I cut it just a little bit smaller, I can get 6 card fronts. So you want to keep that in mind if that's one of the concerns that you have. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. And I'm using my multi-purpose glue. And I like to use that because it gives me just a little bit of wiggle room when I turn this over. I want to try to get it as straight as I can. So let me lay that down. I'm just kind of looking. Okay, I think I've got it on there straight. And then the next layer that's on our card is a piece of soft sea foam, and this piece is cut at 3 by 4.5. Now I will have the link to my blog post on this video on YouTube, and it will have all of the measurements in the blog post, so don't worry about that. And then we use the Coastal Weave embossing folder. Now this is one of the new embossing folders. If you're using the Big Shot, you're going to use for that your base, and then you'll have your paper. Of course, this is already done, but you'll have your paper in here, then that goes down, and then you use the blue plate to go with that. But I've already embossed that for us. So let me get that out. And we are just going to glue this down also. So I'll put my glue down on the back of the embossing. And the sketch builds most of the card over here to the left of the card surface. So I'm just going to put this, I think, right in here. Trying to get that straight on there. And then the focal piece of the card is a circle from the sketch. I'm going to put another piece down first, but since I've started talking about the circle, we'll go ahead and finish that. I used the second largest circle from the layering circles, and then I used this paper from the Tropical Oasis set. And you can see this is filled with cars. You can get any car that you want on there. I chose for this card, the first one, a pink car. This one have chosen a blue car. So it can be anyone you want. I did think that it was important that it face in this direction, that face toward the right, because I was building my card to the left. I think if I used a card that was facing maybe this way, that I would build my card on the right of the card instead of the left. So all I did was fix it where I wanted it. Actually, here's the piece of paper I used. And I put it around where I wanted it. Just cut out around that and then sent it through the big shot with the layering circle die. So that's how I got that. Okay, so I did use a small piece of paper, of designer series paper, to go along here in the card. This is cut 1 inch by 3 1/4, I believe it was. And so we'll go ahead and glue that down. Now the piece that I chose doesn't stand out a lot. So if you wanted something that would pop a little bit more on the card, then you might want to pick a different piece. I'm more of a subtle type person, so I was happy with that. And now I'm going to glue down the car. Now you might look at that and think, well, she's got part of a car up there. That's going to look horrible, but it's going to be covered by my trees, so it's okay. So I'm going to put my my car down, and I don't think I did it so much on the first sample card, but I think for this one I might move that just a little bit and center that a little bit more on that background. I don't think that's centered so much here. Okay, now we are ready to work on our saying. So for that, I'm using the Our Friendship is Timeless stamp set, and I'm just going to pull in some scrap that I had from cutting insides of cards. If you're like me, you've got lots of those scraps and you like to use them for things like this. So I'm using Early Espresso ink, and let me stand up and see if I can get that on camera. It's going to be hard for me to, actually, that's pretty good. So we'll just go with that one. All right. And I will cut this. Get my scissors right back here. I'm going to leave just a little bit here. And then I'm just going to lay this on the card to kind of see how far I want it to go. Okay, about like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to turn this on the back and put on some dimensionals. Now, I could use the mini dimensionals. I just happen to have these right here close by, and they were cut down through the middle, so these are fine. And so I'm ready to put my sentiment across the card. I'm kind of lining it up with the bottom of this paper. All right, now we are ready to work on the trees. So I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus for this piece because I'm coloring directly on the stamp to make my trees. Now, you probably have done this technique before, and because we'll be coloring directly on the stamp with our markers. The only thing about that, it's a wonderful technique, but I often feel like I need to stamp it more than one time. And so the Stamparatus is going to allow me to do that. So what I'm going to do is use my Stampin' Right markers. I'm going to start with the crumb cake, and I'm going to color the trees. Now I'm not using the tip of my marker. I kind of use the side. If you use the tip, you're going to ruin it. And then I'll stamp. And that's pretty good. I don't think I need to stamp that again. I'll admit to you that I did not clean my stamp after I used it last. Now I'm going to take Early Espresso, and I'm just going to, here and there, make some marks on those trunks. And we'll stamp that. Okay, and I might want that to be a little bit darker, so I think I'm going to go over that again, and I'm going to kind of go right where I already went to color that in. Okay, there we go with that. And I did actually end up just going back with the tip and just coloring that in the rest of the way. Now I wonder if probably I could have just stamped the whole thing in the Early Espresso and then colored it in, and that might have been a little bit easier than what I ended up doing. Okay, now I'm going to color with the soft seafoam, and I'm going to color over this entire area right here. Now the soft seafoam is a very light color. It's probably going to feel like you're not getting much of that on there. And this is where I felt like I had to stamp it more than one time. Okay. All right, I think I am going to go ahead and go over it again. The good thing about the Stamparatus is that you can stamp in exactly the same place where you've already stamped. You saw that with the tree. As long as you don't move your bottom piece, it's just fine. Okay, I think that's going to do it with this. Okay, and then I'm going to come back with Old Olive and just kind of go out some of those fronds with my color. And you can see I'm not being very neat with it. And then we'll stamp there. Okay, so there we go. I think one time was enough for that. And we are ready to cut this out. And we are going to cut it out with this piece right here. And I'm going to lay this on here and use just a little bit of washi tape to hold it into place. I just want to make sure that it's held. And I don't have my magnetic plate out. I've kind of gotten to where I'd rather use just the regular. I'm going to go over to my Big Shot and just cut this out very quickly. I'll have my regular plate my adapter, a bottom plate, my die, and then another plate on top. And I'll just roll that through real quick. Okay. So we are ready to take that out. And for my card, I added that with dimensionals also. So it kind of went a little bit over this, and then I don't want it to hang over this side, so I'm going to put it kind of like that and leaning over a little. And I probably want to move it up so that that's not hitting the car so much. So I'm going to get out my dimensionals and just put those on here. And then I want to put dimensionals on the trunk of that. I'm just going to cut a piece that actually butts up against these end pieces here. And I'll go ahead and take the backing off, and I'm going to put some in here, some there, and then I'm going to put the rest of it over here. All right, we'll take those off. And we want to make sure that they're on the card up a little bit higher. So I'm going to do it about like that. So this one kind of covers up, or it goes on top of our saying. And then to finish it up, I've tied a little bow. Now mine's a little triple bow, but I like to use a bow tire. And you can look that up if you don't have one. You can look it up and find out what those are. They're pretty cheap. You can order those, but Stampin' Up! Doesn't have them. I'm going to roll up a glue dot, and, well, I'm actually going to stick myself, but I'm going to roll up a glue dot and put it behind my bow. And then that's going to go right in there. Now it covers up my saying a little bit, but hey, it's worth it. So there you go. Do you like it better with the pink, a little dash of pink, or do you like it better with that blue? Does it seem to go better for you? You'll have to let me know which you like the best. So on the inside of my card, I put the other saying from this stamp set, or another saying from the stamp set, saying, "May your birthday be memorable." I did the same thing for my trees. I put it, I would put my card, let me move these, in here so that the trees would be situated about where I thought they should go. And then I would color that again and stamp it in here. I don't think you need to see me go through that again. So we'll hold that for another time. And then I stamped the saying. Now you might be wondering, why did you do a cutout for your saying? But if you're a stamper or have been a stamper for a while, you know exactly why. Because I messed my saying up. My saying wasn't straight on my block. So when I stamped it, I messed up. So I'm going to try stamping this one. I think I have straightened it up. We'll see. But if not, I have a fallback. So let me open the Early Espresso. And we'll ink this up. And we'll see how it goes. Okay, not too bad. I think it's pretty straight. So I did pretty good about getting it fixed on there a little bit better. Okay, well, there you go. Let me also add to you, for you, that when I cut that little piece out to go on the inside of this first card, these are the dies that I use, the Stitch So Sweetly dies. There are 10 of them. Hey, you got to have these. They are a treasure. So let me mention that for you. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you'll try coloring these trees using your Stamparatus. And as always, you can order from me from my online store. There are links on the YouTube video. I would love to help you out. I'd love to be your demonstrator. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.